Okay, let's dive into a fascinating story out of Greeley, Colorado. So you have a city council, right? They've got this huge billion-dollar development project they're pushing. But then the public steps in and completely shuts it down in a special election, a total rejection. So what does the council do? They turn around and create a committee, and they invite the very people who just defeated them to run it. Now, on the surface, that looks like they're surrendering, right? But what if it's actually a brilliant political move?
And that's the real puzzle we're going to unpack today. Why would you do that? It seems like a peace offering, a way to say, okay, we hear you. But when you start to look at the mechanics of this thing, you realize there might be a much, much smarter strategy happening just beneath the surface. So what's really going on here? All right, to really get what's happening with this committee, we have to rewind a bit and understand the crisis that started it all. It kicks off with this massive development plan. They called it the Catalyst Project. And let me tell you, this thing immediately put City Hall on a collision course with a really fired-up citizen movement.
And things escalated fast. So back in May of 2025, the city council gives the green light to the project zoning. But this citizens group, Greeley Demands Better, they weren't having it. They hit the streets and mobilized, gathering almost 9,000 signatures. That was enough to force a special election. And by February of 2026, the people of Greeley voted. They repealed the ordinance and brought the whole project to a grinding halt.
Now, you have to understand the scale of this pushback was just massive. Over 20,000 people showed up to vote. I mean, that is an incredible turnout for a local special election. This wasn't just some small protest. It was a full-blown, citywide rejection of what the council was trying to do.
You know, Ron Nolley, one of the leaders of that citizens group, he really hit the nail on the head. He called it a David and Goliath story. And for so many people in Greeley, that's exactly what it was. This fight wasn't just about buildings and zoning. It was about them feeling like they had a say in how their own community was going to grow. So, okay, the city council just got handed this massive defeat. What do? Do they scrap the whole project? Nope. Instead, they announced this brand new thing, the West Greeley Citizen Oversight Committee. And the way they sold it to the public, well, that was absolutely critical.
Here's what Mayor Dale Hall had to say. The official line is all about listening, right? Bringing new perspectives into the process, taking a step back. I mean, publicly, the messaging is perfect. It sounds like they're being really humble and just responding directly to what the voters wanted. And look, on paper, this committee looks pretty good, right? You got 9 residents. They're going to serve for about 6 months. Their job is to review all the financial and planning info and then give their recommendations to the city council. It sounds great, but, and this is a big but, look at that last point. City staff provide all the administrative and subject matter support. Now, why does that matter? Well, it means the city controls the information. They control the data and the resources the committee gets to see. And that little detail, that is absolutely crucial.
Okay, so now let's look past the official press releases and the public statements, because this committee, it's probably not just about listening. It's a very clever political tool, one that's designed to do 2 things: manage this crisis, and in the end, save that billion-dollar vision. Okay, tactic number 1. It's maybe the most obvious, but also the most effective: time. That 6-month timeline, that is no accident. It's a cooling-off period. Think about it. Right after an election like that, public anger is at its peak. It's white hot. But if you can delay any new decisions for 6 months, well, that energy starts to fade. The media finds a new story, and the whole political situation just cools down. Now, the second tactic is a little more subtle, but it's a classic move right out of the political playbook. It's called co-optation. And here's how it works. You take your loudest critics, the most organized opposition, and you invite them inside. You give them a seat at the table. Suddenly, they're not chanting in the streets anymore. They're sitting in long, structured meetings run by city staff. You effectively turn passionate activists into committee members. You bring their dissent inside the system where it's a lot easier to manage. So what you have here are 2 completely different narratives playing out at the same time. The public story is all about transparency and engagement and listening, but the political story is all about regaining control. The city gets to control the information, they get to frame the debate, and this is the masterstroke, their best-case scenario is that this citizen committee itself ends up recommending a new version of the project. So it's not the politicians pushing it anymore, it's the voice of the people. And this whole committee strategy isn't just a one-off thing. When you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, you start to see it's just one piece of a much larger playbook. A playbook the city has run before and is running right now to make sure its big plans eventually succeed. In fact, we've seen something really similar play out before in Greeley. Take the Terry Ranch Water Project controversy. Back then, the city's tactic was to use experts and technical reports to make their preferred plan seem like the only logical choice. Now they're doing it again, but they've swapped out the experts for citizens. The goal is the same: use an outside group to validate the city's plan. But this time, they're aiming for the appearance of community consensus. So while everyone's attention is focused on this new committee for the next 6 months, what else is happening in the background? Well, 2 really important things. First, the city is quietly pushing ahead with a $17 million water pipeline. A pipeline that just so happens to be exactly what you'd need for the high-density development the voters just rejected. And second, a council seat in a key ward opened up. And instead of holding an election, the council decided to just appoint someone to fill it. Now that appointment, that is an incredibly shrewd political move. Why? Because it lets the current pro-growth majority on the council handpick someone who already agrees with them. It completely avoids the risk of another messy election, another David and Goliath fight they might lose. So while everyone is watching the Citizen Committee, the council is quietly behind the scenes, shoring up its own power and making sure it has the votes it needs. So when you put all these pieces on the board, what do you see? You've got the 6-month cooling-off period, you've got the co-opting of the opposition, you have the essential infrastructure being built anyway, and you have the council strengthening its own majority. This doesn't look like a pause anymore, does it? It looks a lot more like a strategic reset. And this gets us to this central paradox of this whole thing. By appearing to do nothing for 6 months, the council is actually doing everything it needs to do to save its project. This period of inaction is really the most active part of their strategy. It's the perfect cover to let the public's anger fade, to neutralize the opposition, to keep building the infrastructure, and to lock in their own political power. So this all leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? Is this Citizen Committee a real, genuine second chance for the public to have its say? Or is it just a brilliantly designed 6-month delay? A political play designed to wear everyone down so that, in the end, the council's billion-dollar vision for West Greeley happens anyway. I guess we'll find out in about 6 months.